guys, welcome back to Corpse Party. Blood Drive. I didn't forget the name, I swear. Yeah, last I remember, it was mostly talking and dialogue, and now we're at this apartment complex, so... Let's get started if I remember what to do here. Okay. Shift, space is to run, okay. Holy shit, I can't leave. What the fuck? When? What? Okay. Oh, it was that way. Let's do this shit. Hello? What the fuck? Okay. Hi? Yeah. I believe so. Dot dot dot. Are you sure about that? I don't think you were. Good question. Oh, okay. Persistent use of your flashlight will eventually kill its battery. If this happens, you'll need to find a new battery and use it, or you'll be left in the dark. Number 401, Shinozaki. Do I have to? Do I have to go in? Guess I just have to hold it. I guess so. Door shut tight. Let's knock. Excuse me. There's a doorbell on the wall nearby. Like, fuck. Or you can just leave. Pressing it only produces clicks. Guess there's no power. Obviously. Well, I guess I'm leaving. Knowing me, there's probably going to be a key right around here. On the rusted panel of the mailbox was a name scribbled in permanent marker, Shinozaki. Yeah, I know, but, well, okay, I guess I'm not going to be searching that. How about this way? I should check the mailboxes first and see if any of them say Shinozaki. See where I'm going to go. I just did that, though. In addition to most of the name tags being missing from the mailboxes, the one that remains are encrusted with dirt and decay and are only barely legible. Some, in fact, are just plain rotted out entirely, or the slots for them are rusted over. They look like props from a horror movie. I had to die for a second. I have to go back here again. Yeah, I know. There's gotta be some way in, huh? Let me go this way. Door is rusted shut and won't open. Shut tight. Don't do anything. Alright. Now, I like there's gonna be a way around. We're like right fucking here. Whoa. Okay. there not a fucking way that I can get in? No. Alright, where the fuck am I supposed to go? What the actual shit? I'm leaving. Fuck you. I can't turn back now. God damn it! Let me turn back! Wait a minute, it's blocked. I should like also. Son of a bitch. I just want to just go inside, please. Let me just go inside! Took a deep breath, mentally prepared myself for what I was about to attempt, and grabbed the steel doorknob. Beep! Yeah, that is some perfect timing. No, 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 no. Listen, don't go! Please don't, no. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Yeah, what the hell indeed? Number disappeared from the screen as if the call had never been placed. Yeah, I'd say just, you know, leave. That would be like the best choice and option and idea. Like, you know, you don't have to do this. Shit! Open. No! Can I just leave? Hello? It's so dusty. Yeah, no shit. Probably about 50 years. No! Keep your shoes on! No. Okay. Hello. Okay. That was totally a voice. You think? Tadaima! Have you? I'm fine, I can do this. Alright, we're gonna save it right here because, yeah. Did it save? Did it save? That is what I'm wondering to know. Did it? Yeah. Okay, it saved. Let's go right here first. Maybe. Looks like a bathroom door. Yeah, we are going in. I gotta take a piss. Don't mind me. It's a Japanese style toilet, obviously. Fortunately, despite the condition of the apartment building in general, it seems to be a modern and fully functioning non-septic model without any foul smell. Even if it is, the roar of flushing water would be really disconcerting right now. Just go.
なんでこんなにおしっこしたいんだろう。
You're scared!
体調のせい。
Let's just go. I don't need her pissing herself.
ダメ。このままじゃ漏れちゃう。
You better not show the shit. You better not. Sneaking into a deceased woman's abandoned apartment and using her bathroom. It was kind of absurd, but I almost felt like I was infiltrating the deepest chambers of an enemy base. No! I don't want to watch that.
私。
No, it's coming out from the drain. Oh, God. Time to leave. All right, let's go this way.
山村さんの話だと、篠崎真希菜はすでに亡くなっているってことだけど。
Yeah.
生活用品とか当時のままみたい。篠崎真希菜が亡くなった後、誰もここに入らなかったのかしら。
Probably not, because I'm seeing a lot of black mold right there.
やっぱり怖いよ。
You don't say. On the tiny kitchen table sat numerous prescription bags and instructions. The name written on every bag was Makina Shinozaki.
やはり篠崎真希菜の家で間違いないよね。
Ah, shit. There was a photo hanging from the freezer door. Though blurry and hard to make out, it seemed to be of a forest thick with mist, along with one additional detail that made it much worse. A noose?
私は大丈夫。
I'll be fine.
私は
I'll
大
be
丈夫。
fine.
やっぱり手がかり。
Clues. I'm looking for clues, but where? How?
見当もつか
I
な
don't
い
even
け
know
ど。
what I'm looking for, do I? I'm just trying to make some of
マキナ
Makina's
さんの遺
things.
品をできるだけ
Bear
持
with
ち
me.
帰
I
って
guess
み
as
よ
many as I can carry. Okay. Items lying about can be obtained by examining them. There may be hidden compartments or spaces in shelves and such as well, so be sure to examine everything very carefully. Oh, I found one thing right there. There's something lying on the table. Batteries! Drawers seem to be to contain only insurance documents as well as an official name
う。
stamp.
持っていけないや。他には。
Top photograph on the stack depicted a young woman with a hairstyle decidedly not of the modern era.
人が。
Next photograph showed a different woman smiling widely. Her clothes were actually quite beautiful and her eyes looked almost lifelike on the paper. Like they could suck you in. I flipped through each of the remaining pictures, seeing mostly just more of the same, until... Is it who I think it is? Yep. Makino, Rocky, and Yoshie in Yokohama.
篠崎よし。幸子のお母さんだ。
Sachiko's mother!
だとすると。
So does it mean this girl is
女の子は
Sachiko's grandmother? Great grandmother? Hmm.
何かしらこ
It was a small white box made out of paper. So small, in fact, that it fit in the palm of my hand with room to spare. It was light as a feather, too. Open it. Oh, it's another bird.
なんでここにも入ってるの
That's a good question.
拾ってあげなきゃでも怖い
You shouldn't be here.
触れないうーごめんねごめんね
I closed my eyes and put my hands together, saying a little prayer for the poor animal. I then left the box where it lay and got back to my feet. Yeah. Let's check out the mirror, you know, because nothing ever bad happens with mirrors. I could see myself in the mirror. I looked worried. You don't say. Oh, shit. In the middle of the room, a twin-sized futon was neatly laid out. Its top cover was convex, just as it would be if someone were sleeping beneath it. In fact, that's exactly what it looked like, almost unmistakably. I can read. And right on top of it sat a perfect cube of a box about 10 centimeters across on all sides and bright red like a Shinto torii gate. Which would have been a lot more interesting if I weren't still scared. Out of my mind by the thought that there might have been someone under that cover this whole time. You know, you can leave. Leave! Shit. Leave. 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 She did say don't go, but you went anyway. It was a silhouette of a human being, all black save for two perfectly round cutouts positioned halfway up the head, glinting with an unearthly light. There were no signs of life nor detail anywhere along the shadowy figure except in those eyes, but those eyes were very much alive. They were undeniably the eyes of a human. Leave, leave, leave. Whoa! As if in response to my worst fears, I suddenly caught sight of a small girl in a black dress standing right in front of me. Hesitantly taking a closer look, it was actually me reflected in the mirror. But not just me, there was a black shadow behind me and it was coming closer. I panicked and whirled around and my light immediately went out. You got batteries! I was completely shrouded in darkness, as if whatever I'd seen had fully enveloped me. Ow! Smush. Okay. I stepped on something soft and squishy. Unconsciously, I paused for a split second pondering what it may have been. But my de facto conclusion was, I don't care. I need to get the hell out of here. You think? Was it locked? This is insane. Feeling around along the glass door's surface, I finally found what seemed to be a handle. I tried in vain to turn it, only to realize I couldn't. Because... I didn't have to ask, though. I could feel it. and see it. My right hand was being clasped shut by the tiny, ghostly hands of a white-hued child. I shook my arm violently, and the white apparition faded from sight. Come on! But my closed right hand still wouldn't open. Why? I had to get out of there. That was paramount. Clenched fist or no, I needed to leave before something worse happened. Panicked, I flung English! Panicked, I flung open the glass door. This is not where you're supposed to go. Shit. This is why you don't go into abandoned places, especially if it belonged to your family, your ancestors, and they were involved in some shady occult shit. I fell back, completely sick to my stomach. My heart was pounding so hard and so fast. I was convinced I was going to have a heart attack and die. At the very least, I knew I was about to lose consciousness. Oh, it's right in my ear! As if to confirm just how... Oh, hold on. As if to confirm just how done for I was, my nose began bleeding profusely. I had no doubt at all anymore. This was the end. Satoshi! And Kishinuma! I didn't forget your name. Naomi! Kishinuma moved my worn, limp body onto the tatami flooring and carefully set me up. I regained consciousness right away, and I was immediately met with the worried gazes of Kishinuma, Mochida, and Nakashima. Nakashima wiped tears from her eyes. I was so relieved, so very relieved to see my friends. I started crying as well. Yeah, you don't say. Yeah, that's right. Yell at her. You what?
何？
Satoshi?
よしきに任せよう。
Let's leave this to Yoshiki.
始まりって。
全部私が悪いの。私のせいでみんないなくなって。姉ちゃんまで。
Damn. I was sobbing like a baby. My face must have been a mess, and my voice came out hoarse and in short bursts.
悪いって。何が？
It kinda is, though. I mean, if you think about it, you know, the charm from the first one.
私が幸せの幸子さんなんておまじない持ってきたせいだよ。全部私が悪いんだから。
まさか。お前一人で全部の責任を背負い込んでんじゃないだろうな。
I mean, it kinda was her fault. I mean, shit.
ああ俺だって。
I sheepishly nodded my head, then looked down. I didn't want to meet his gaze.
じゃあよ。頼れよ。一人で突っ走んなよ。いいか。今ここではっきりさせといてやる。あんなもの絶対お前の せいなんかじゃねえんだよ。
死ぬまく
That's right. Let her have it.
お前は悪くない。だからそんな風に自分を責めんなよ。
死ぬわ
少なくとも。ああ、
Yeah.
ヨシキの言う通りだ。
そうだよ委員長、もう一人で抱え込まないで。
私みんなをもう巻き込みたくないから自分でなんとかしなきゃって。でも怖くて
You don't say.
私やっぱり何もできな
ったくバカだな。お前はよく頑張ったよ。いいからもっと俺たちを頼れ。
バカってひどい。
But he's right.
いや、だからよ。
ありがとう。
I didn't entirely believe them. It was a fact that this whole mess started when I led everyone in the Sachiko Ever After ritual. But I appreciated their words nonetheless. So can we leave?
しまった以上、残された俺たちはみんなでこの現実を受け止めていくしかないんだ。受け入れるんじゃなくな、少しでも良くしていくためにできることをする。
So can we leave? That would be, greatly appreciated.
気持ちはみんな一緒だよ委員長。あなたは何もできなかったなんてことはないわよ。
Is that the teacher? I didn't recognize the voice at all and was a little perturbed that no one else seemed startled by it. It belonged to a girl I'd never seen before, wearing an unusual outfit.
篠崎あゆみ
Oh! It's
無
you.
事でよかったわ。
I don't know your name, but it's you.
あなたは
I'm sure I do, I just forgot.
篠崎、お前がヤバいところに向かってるってこの場所を俺たちに教えてくれたのはこの人なんだ。
Wait, aren't you from the birthday game?
丹羽愛子さんだ。
Yeah, her. Aiko Niwa.
ごめんなさいね。いろいろと調べさせてもらったわ。私は情報や霊能関係に詳しいの。篠崎ひのえさんの妹さんなら、そうね。さえのきなほちゃんの友達といえばわかるかしら。
Are you though?
なほさんの？お姉ちゃんのことも知ってるの？
But are you though?
あなたのお姉さん、ひのえさんはこちらの世界では有名人だったわ。
But are you though? I don't know.
あゆみちゃん、その右手開かないの？
My right hand had been clapped shut this whole time. I'd almost forgotten about it. I tried to open it again, but still couldn't.
はい。
見せてみろ。
Kishino grabbed my hand and tried to pry my fingers open.
無理に開ける必要はないわ。きっと時期が来たら自然に開く。そのと。あら、
Okay.
これを。
She attempted to open the box for just a moment, but her efforts proved to be in vain, just as mine were.
気になる箱ね。これも開かない。なるほどね。
Aiko was mesmerized by the unopening box. She seemed desperate to understand what force kept it sealed, almost giddy at the unspoken prospects of what it could mean.
ものすごい霊力。これはすごいわ。今晩預かっていいかしら。うちに戻っ。
Don't trust her! I had the feeling that this was less a request than it was a statement. She would never have taken no for an answer.
まあ今日はもう遅いから詳しい話は明日させてもらうわね。放課後会いに行くわ。
I don't trust her. You were so mesmerized by her, though. That night, after I returned home, I stood in front of my mirror and just kept trying to open my right hand. Put every bit of strength and energy I had into it. It's like... And then, boop! Oh. Got teeth! What I found inside my... You know what? Okay, what I found inside my closed hand were teeth. Human teeth from the looks of it. Very small baby teeth. 2 of them. The roots of each tooth were embedded deep within my palm, and I was bleeding quite a bit as a result.
なんで私の手の中に子供の歯が
Are they Sachikos? Imagine. Chapter 0. To be continued. Alright! EVP entries for Hinoe Shinozaki have been unlocked. The Encyclopedia Obscura entries have been unlocked. Okay. Grimoire, Sachiko Raptor, Yui Shishido, Ayumi Shinozaki, Seiko Shinohara, Shimorinjaku South Apartments, Mai Suzumoto, Naomi Nakashima, Satoshi Mochida, Yuka Mochida, Sakataro Morishige, Takemine Yanagihori. Alright! Candle. There's just candle. Yes. Alright! New chapter. Let's go to chapter 1, baby. Returning. Returning where? I'm guessing to Heavenly Host, but... You know. A day had passed since the events at Shimorinjaku's South Apartments. This was to be a significant turning point for me and Mochida might have been a part of it from the start, except that fate seemed to have other plans for him.
先生、俺今日は大事な用があって。
ダメ。サトシ君、昨日の唾液の小テスト、ちょっと残念な点数だったでしょ?
Stay with the teacher. I sure as hell would, but I don't trust her either. Like an owner training a puppy, Guan gave him a strong glare and held up her index finger in reprimand.
今から1時間、私の授業に集中しなさい。そうしたら次の小テストも解けるようになるから。
What kind of personal lecture are we talking about here?
先生って英語科でしょ？大気なんて専門外じゃ。
一生懸命教えるからできるよ。
She seemed a little taken aback by that remark, puffing up her cheeks like a chipmunk in protest.
いや、先生、クオン先生って。
Starting how alike she and Miss Yui are.
ごめんなさい。
Looking both bemused and guilty, Mochida tried to get up and leave his seat in one swift motion, but he was quickly and easily caught, lifted up, and forcefully set back down.
ダメ。
Ah ha ha. You sly bastard, you tried. You can't get away from her. Miss Gohan was smiling. She was actually enjoying this.
なんだこの先生。
Miss Gohan was only the slightest bit taller than Mochida. This did make her taller than the average, but her arms were small and frail. There seemed to be no way she could possibly have lifted someone of his build. You'd be surprised. This whole situation was rather bewildering for him, and he made no attempt to hide his confusion.
始めるよ。
Now let's begin, shall we? Yes, ma'am. He had no other option. Apparently, he was going to be studying algebra for the next hour, come hell or high water. Meanwhile, at a local cafe near the school, Kishinuma and I were sitting down to speak with Aiko Niwa, the informant who'd led my friends to me the previous night.
大丈夫？お腹でも痛いの？
No, but my hands do. I responded with a dismissive gesture while continuing to rub my abdomen with my other hand. Ever since the previous night, I'd had this constant, unbearable urge to pee. Then go! What the hell is wrong with me?
怖い思いして過呼吸が続いたから体がおかしいのかな。ずっと膀胱が膨らんでる気がする。
Have you actually tried to go pee or something?
何から話そうかしら。
Aiko tilted her head and stared at me, looking me up and down, seemingly judging my every mannerism, my every movement. It was making me feel really self-conscious. I covered my abdomen with both hands as if guarding it from her gaze.
昨日はい
いえ、大したことはしていないわ。如月学園って案外広いので、岸沼くんたちを探すのに少し手間取ってしまったわ。
Kishinuma and I stared at one another, still unsure how to feel about this strange new addition to our entourage.
あゆみちゃん、岸沼くん。あなたたちって天神小学校の生還者よね。
Yes. We pledged never to discuss Heavenly Host with anyone else, which we'd always assumed would be an easy promise to keep. But now, catch it out of the blue, here we are.
なんであんたそのことを
Why? How do you know about
あ
that?
なたたち死後の世界に接してきたでしょう。通常人間には身につかないオーラの色をしているわ。私には見えるの。
I don't trust you! Both Kishinuma and I were speechless. I just sat there staring at my palm, subconsciously trying to see my aura. I guess. Aiko was smiling at us triumphantly.
愛子さんは霊能関係の情報屋でナホさんのお友達なんですよね。
ええ、ナホちゃんに天神小学校の情報を提供した。
The true source of the deaths and subsequent erasures that had turned our lives into a living nightmare was the Sachiko Ever After ritual posted by Naho's occult blog. I've been a fan of Naho's for quite some time, so when I saw that, I knew I had to try it out with my friends from Class 2-9, and as a result, half of those friends were now gone.
ナホちゃんがキビキ先生のために霊能探偵をやっていたことは知っているわよね。
Uh-huh.
はい。幸せの幸子さんの情報が掲載されてから。
私はね、心霊スポットや霊能関係の情報を集めて、それを欲しがる人に有償で提供してきた。報酬はお金、もしくは私の興味をそそる霊具の類。相手によってふっかけ方も変えるけれど、まあギブアンドテイクよね。向こうは情報が欲しい。私
Physically, Aiko was a very attractive young lady, but personality-wise, the jury was still out. Her words were calculated and emotionless, her true intentions a mystery.
だから私は情報屋をやっているの。ナホちゃんもいいお客さんだったわ。あの子が最後に買ったのが天神小学校の情報。
You don't say.
これでキビキ先生の小説がなんとか賞を取れるってすごくはしゃいでた。
Dot dot dot.
ねえ、教えてくれる？あなたたちの閉じ込められたあの異空間に
She was.
ナホさんは響先生と一緒に亡くなっていました。
I looked down as I answered. Despite everything she'd done, the memory of Naho's passing was still painful for me. She'd become one of Heavenly Host's lost souls and gone completely berserk. In the end, I was the one who finished her off. I see.
そうやっぱりね。
Aiko seemed completely unaffected by this revelation. Her tone remained even and her expression cold and distant. Honestly, I'd had about enough of her by this point. She was so devoid of empathy, it was almost offensive. I was genuinely starting to get pissed off.
平気なんですか？
残念だと思うわ。でも予想はついていたから、わざわざ取り乱す必要もないでしょ。
I mean, most spiritual mediums are pretty much, devoid of, empathy, technically. Kishinuma continued to stare intently at Aiko with his own brand of cold, emotionless eyes. He was oddly quiet, though his anger was palpable. I clenched my fist.
じゃ、この子はおまじないを一緒に行ったと思うんだけど、あっちにはいたかしら。
Who? Oh, yeah. Aiko showed us a photo of a girl named Sayaka Oe.
いえ、会ってないからわかりません。
I did.
そう。
Aiko's expression was so unfaltering you could carve it in stone. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to say something.
ナホさんのことお客さんだなんて、そんなの友達って言わない。
My voice was breaking with rage. But even if that hadn't been the case, my face must have read like a book. This icy bitch may have had only one expression, but I sure as hell didn't.
あら、あなたは客って言葉に対して随分と偏見を持っているのね。取引を行う以上、私はそこに最大の誠意とクオリティを、つまりそれがパートナーとしての信用で、フレンドシップにも負けないものだと思っているけれど。
そんなこと。
I had no idea what to say. It seemed like Aiko was used to this sort of thing. Her response felt carefully rehearsed, like a sales pitch. Finally, Kishinuma broke his silence.
あんたよ、昨日篠崎を助けてくれたことは感謝するけどよ、金やなんかの見返りのためにそんなろくでもない情報を拡散させるなんて旗迷惑だと思わねえのか。
情報は情報よ。それ自体に罪はないわ。道具と同じ。それをどう使うかは使い手の問題でしょ。
I mean, she has a point.
その気になれば、その辺にあるコップでも人は殺せてしまうのよ。
なもん、詭弁じゃねえかよ。
She's not wrong, though.
あなたもそう思う？あゆみ。
愛子さん、ごめんなさい。私はあなたの考え方。
Damn! Burn! Her expression remained calm and collected overall, but her eyes blinked several times in rapid succession. It was the first outward sign of emotion we'd seen from her.
やれやれ、ひどい嫌われよね。慣れてるけど悲しいわ。
Aiko quickly shrugged off her sudden outburst and was back to her usual icy self.
天神書は俺らがぶっ壊してきたからいいけどよ。
Did you, though? Did you really? An awkward tension filled the room, or at least our table.
じゃ、本題に入りましょうか。私があなたたちに
Aiko produced a thick, hardbound file folder from the light blue bag she'd brought with her. She opened it to reveal several documents of a questionable nature. Among them were what looked to be a family tree, as well as numerous pages featuring black magic symbology or images that looked like tree branches.
黒魔術の文字対応表。篠崎家の家系図。
少しショッキングなことを伝えるわね。
Heavenly Host still exists. Aiko was looking directly into my eyes now. Her gaze was fixed, intense, and unblinking.
さっき岸沼くんが言ったことだけれど
Called it!
違いよ。
あ、何がだよ。
天神小学校は壊れてなどいない。これを見て。
Aiko placed a black and white photo on the table. It wasn't the clearest of pictures, but there was no doubt that the location it depicted was Heavenly Host Elementary. In the picture, a small girl could be seen standing in one of those all too familiar hallways, holding a hatchet in her right hand.
天神小学校
Yes!
なんだよ、これ。
やっぱりこれは私が念写したものよ。力が足りなくて少し不鮮明ではあるけれど、今現在のあの空間、
一体どういうことなんですか？
I can't even describe what was going through my head at that moment. I felt like I was about to burst. Aiko, however, remained calm as ever while recounting her story.
順を追って説明するわね。まず昨日の例の赤い箱だけれど、開けると
The box I found on Makina's futon. Inside it were apparently two stones resembling Magatama kama-shaped ceremonial objects from Japanese antiquity. I butchered that so fucking bad. Also included in the box were several more roughly honed stones, as well as a lining along the edges consisting of crumpled pieces of thin white paper.
残念ながら箱の中でほとんど割れていたけれど、この一組は無事だったわ。
They looked almost like a demented version of yin and yang symbols. Puzzle pieces that were clearly built to be slotted together. Aiko now held one stone in each hand, and was motioning them toward one another as if to drive that point home.
霊具というのはね、簡単に言えば死者の思いが込められたもののことで、物に閉じ込められた霊、またはその生前の記憶が持つ者に永遠と泣き言を語りかけてくる愉快なものよ。
That doesn't sound wonderful to me.
私はこう見えて無類の霊具コレクターでもあるの。
Dot dot dot! Kishinuma and I briefly locked eyes again. We shared the same look of bewilderment. Aiko's personality was much more twisted than either of us had initially perceived it to be.
この子の意志を読もうとするとね、呪わしい声と一緒におさげの少女や廃校の風景が見えてきたのよ。で、気になったからこのカメラに。
At this, she produced an old instant camera and placed it on the table in front of us. Is it a camera obscurus?
私の念を映してみたの。それがその写真。私がこの霊具を使ってその時の今現在を念写したものよ。過去や未来の時間を超えた念写は私にはできないから。
I examined the photograph in greater detail, and a chill ran down my spine. There was absolutely no denying what it depicted. I was actually shaking.
篠崎幸子を失ったあの学校は私たちが逆落ちで脱出した際に崩壊したはず。
でも寸前のところでとどまったってところかしら。私に語りかけてくる声の主がまだいるのかもね。
Aiko motioned toward the photo in my hand.
例えば写真の女の子とか。
The answer was beginning to dawn on me. A sudden cold sensation exploded through my body, and I shuddered, as if trying to shake off the encroaching realization.
くそ、あの地獄みたいな場所が。
Kishinuma leaned forward. The conversation was clearly beginning to engage him a lot more than it had been.
その天神小学校、いえ、学校の形をしたあの異空間だけれど、ナホちゃんに紹介した手前、私も気になって調べていたの。あの異空間の正体はね、涅槃という死後の世界に近い磁場なのよ。
Okay, but
宇宙
why?
はこの世とは別の次元に存在するものなのだけれど、
ねはん
Again, why?
篠崎義恵については知っているわよね。
Yeah, pretty sure that's my great 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 grandmother.
はい。
篠崎の家、義恵の診療所に黒の本と呼ばれる魔導書。
Uh-huh. Why? How could she know about that? A million thoughts, a million questions were running through my head. I was speechless. All I could do was sit there and hear her out. Speaking of Sachiko. Hi, Sachiko! It was like a muffled scream or a moan of agony, the sounds you make when you want to make a sound but are barely able to. That one was a little more forceful. Accompanied by thrashing, it caused a nearby table light to fall over and roll along the ground. Holy shit.
あなた、落ち着いて、お願い。
Do I? This was Yoshie Shinozaki's clinic. And Yoshie herself was on top of her husband, holding him down with both of her hands. She continued her Shinto purification chant. To prevent Seiji from biting off his own tongue, he had been gagged with a towel. Needless to say, he wasn't looking particularly well. Not far from where this was occurring, Sachiko stood aghast, trembling as she watched the proceedings with hesitant, sidelong glances. What? Okay. Seiji, still collapsed on the floor, was clearly suffering. His body was bent into a most unnatural shape, and he was fervently clawing at his neck. I'm sorry. What? Sachiko's father screamed through his gag, foam beginning to forth out. Fourth? I can read. Foam beginning to froth out from its edges. He was going into cyanosis. Worse still, some of the women had traditionally blackened teeth, giving their smiles an unintentionally sinister edge. The atmosphere within the room was heavy, as if spirits occupied every empty corner, dancing and flitting about freely and joyously. Seiji's body sharply bent and began convulsing. This is some weird fucking shit. Miyoya no Mitama. What? Her great-grandmother, Sarah, the head of the Shinozaki family, was among the black-teeth women laughing joyously at Seiji's suffering. Aw, Sachiko. Goddamn! His voice began to weaken and his convulsions began to lose strength. Finally, the last spark of life had left his body. His eyes rolled back into his head and all movement ceased. I'd say blame your ancestors, Sachiko. Sachiko looked up, eyes glazed over with tears. Yoshie too was stricken with grief and despair. You don't say.
霊能力者の血筋篠崎の者と結婚した夫は必ず早々の死を遂げる。呪われた家の運命に抗えなかったヨシエは
You hear that, Kishinuma? You better not marry her.
心ない者たちから守るよう篠崎の家に託されていた禁忌の本に手をつける。それが黒の本、ブック・オブ・シャドウズ。
The Book of Shadows.
愛する者を失う。そのことを恐れるあまり黒魔術に頼ったの。まさに荒唐無稽でバカな話よね。ヨシエ自身もすがれるものなら何でもいい程度にしか思っていなかったと思うわ。
Aiko stared deeply into my eyes, seemingly fishing for a reaction to her tale.
ところがまさか信じられないことが起こる。
I continued listening, unknowingly stroking the wound on my thigh as unpleasant memories of my own foolish run-in with black magic resurfaced.
ヨシエの体に流れる篠崎の血筋、その強い霊力に想像もつかない何かが呼応してしまった。それは
Oh. I instantly knew what she was going to say.
ヨシエの術で本の中から呼び覚まされた何か。それは涅槃、未来永劫、死者と共にいられる場所、死後の世界を切り取った空間がこの世に生まれてしまったの。ヨシエはもう半分正気を失っていたのね。一人娘の幸子を現世に残して
ランド・オブ・コープス。
The land of corpses.
ところが涅槃には意志があり、ヨシエの手でコントロールできるものではなかったの。
I knew that all too well. Just like Yoshie, I'd experienced my own tragic failure with black magic at the Shinozaki clinic.
黒魔術には障害反動がある。夫の魂はバラバラに飛散し、ヨシエの命も消えかけた。自分の愚かな行為を悔やみながら呼吸を止めようとしたその時、底なしに霊能力の強い一人娘幸子が涅槃を丸ごと体の中に飲み込んだの。
幸子が。
The poor girl collapsed to the floor, violently thrashing about as the weight of an entire dimension crushed her from the inside. This action had saved her mother's life, certainly, but death would have surely been preferable. Picking herself up, Yoshie rushed to her daughter's side in tears.
幸子、さっちゃん、あなたお母さん死なないで、お母さん。
Both parent and child were bawling, pain mixing with relief, mixing with pain again. The little girl buried her face into Yoshie's bosom and just cried and cried. Yoshie grasped her tightly in both arms, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. By this point, Sachiko's body had begun producing a dark blue aura.
ごめんね、さっちゃん。ごめんね。お母さん間違ってた。お母さんにはあなたがいるわ。もうあなたを置いていこうだなんて。
あなたも知っての通り、幸子も篠崎家当主直系の血を引くサラブレッド。ヨシエを超えるほどの霊能力を持っていたのね。涅槃を丸ごと体内に封じ込めるなんてものすごいことよ。
Aiko took a big noisy sip from her coffee mug.
当時ほとんど最強の霊能者だったんじゃないかしら。まだほんの小さな子供だったけれど。
でもその幸子が死んでしまって
そう保健医ヨシエの転落事故と同時に幸子が行方不明になった50年前のあの事件。
Okay, but what about the other shit? You know, the kidnappings, the murders that she was involved in.
あれは校長による殺人事件でした。
Oh, okay. There we go.
やはりそうなのね。校長が余計なことをしでかしたおかげで幸子の中に吸い込まれて封印されていた涅槃が復活し、あの異空間天神小学校が生まれてしまったのよ。
Probably because the school was the site of Sachiko's violent demise that her nirvana took on its form.
とはいえ復活した涅槃も資料として蘇った幸子の力で再び抑制されて、やっぱりその支配幸子がいろんな力を使えたのもその
This was all starting to make a sick sort of sense. The pieces were falling into place and painting an absolutely awful picture. I shuddered to myself as I considered it.
現在はあなたたちが脱出の際に幸子を取り除いてしまったから涅槃なくなってしまえばよかったのに、あんな危険な場所。
This entire conversation was a roller coaster of emotions for me. At this point, I was just angry. Angry at everyone involved in this whole ordeal, myself included.
さて、ここで少し突飛な話をするわよ。ついてきてね。
Would you like to go back?
はい。死んだ友達にまた会え
Fuck! I mean, yes, but no. That certainly got our attention. We both perked our heads up immediately.
涅槃で死んだ霊は成仏できずに囚われ続けるというわ。お友達の魂だってまだあそこにいるかもしれない。実はね、黒の本ブックオブシャドウズにはヨシエの使った涅槃を生み出す術の他にも反言の術というものもある。
Nakashima and I knew about that one all too well.
命を無理やり戻すなんて敬虔な宗教家に言わせれば神のおぼし飯に背く背徳の行為だと言われそうだけれどね。
は
My thoughts exactly. Huh? Kishinuma seemed a bit more confused than he probably should have been, though I suspect the look on my face may have had something to do with that. It's like, shit! I'd performed that spell, the very one Aiko was describing. It took hours, failed miserably, and killed my sister. All at once, the guilt returned. I lowered my head solemnly. Aiko grinned at me, and I had this sinking suspicion it was because she somehow knew what I was thinking. Though I couldn't be sure, and I certainly didn't know how she would.
けれどそんなものはクソくらいよね。冒涜も破壊も何でも来いよ。
What?
死んだ友達を生き返らせたいんでしょ。だったらあの本を探し出し天神小学校でもう一度あの術を行えば成功する可能性は飛躍的に上がるんじゃないかしら。
おいあんた、何無責任なこと言ってやがんだ。
I didn't exactly mean to interrupt Kishinuma, but quite honestly, I didn't even realize he was talking. I was too focused on what Aiko had just
あ
said.
なたは知っているんですね。
Aiko tilted her head at me, that same wry smile creeping across her face. She'd gone from cold and emotionless to knowing and expressive in a mere
その
instant.
時のことは夢幻だったと思っています。ありえないものを見て、ありえない体験をして、私はおかしくなっていたって。してはいけないこと、あんなこと、もう忘れたいの。
でも現実だった。
Aiko pointed to the scar on my neck, then went one step further and lightly brushed it with her hand. I could feel that touch deep within my soul. I suddenly found myself swallowing my next breath, practically choking on thin air.
いい？人が本来触れることすらできない世の常識の裏側にあなたは手を突っ込んだのよ。 今さら逃げられると思う？
I looked down again, trying my best to avoid Aiko's gaze.
私にそんな。
When had I started crying? I raised my head again, intent upon looking deep into Aiko's eyes as she answered my question. But she looked so blurry through my tears. I could tell, though, that she was smiling at me. It was that same expression, her new standard.
そんなこと？
みんな。
うんうん。何？あなたの口からちゃんと聞きたいな。どうしたいの？
帰らせ。
よく言えました。
Aiko patted my head as one might a dog's... What? As one might a dog's after a successfully performed trick.
黒の本が生み出すのは魔女の英知が起こす奇跡よ。それは運命をもねじ曲げる力。
I don't buy that shit.
たとえそれが確定した運命であろうともね。あなたは強力な霊能者の家系、篠崎家の末裔。日野江さんがいない今、これはあなた
Descendant
に
of the
しか
House
で
of
きないことかもしれ
Shinozaki.
ない。
My confidence was being bolstered by the minute, though in retrospect that was likely Aiko's aim. Nonetheless, if there was still something I could do for my friends.
だけど肝心のブックオブシャドウズがどこに行ったのかもわからないし、それに
Look in the picture again.
幸子を失った天神賞には幸せの幸子さんのおまじないでは。
そうだと思います。この学校で菅野由紀ちゃんという女の子に聞きました。
Aiko once again placed the bluish-white Magatama stones from the box in either hand, this time fitting them together, though not quite in the way they're supposed to interlock.
そこでこれよ。
それは
ものすごい霊力を持ってる。さすが篠崎の霊具ね。声が教えてくれたわ。これは幸せの石。
幸せの石。
I leaned forward to spite myself. The name sent a shiver down my spine, but now that I'd heard it, I had to know more.
この石は2つで1つなの。これをパズルのようにくっつけて、涅槃よ、死人を迎えよと唱えれば、触れているものみんながいつでも天神小学校へ飛べるわ。
We both flinched at her chant, but Aiko just smiled. She must have intentionally oriented the stones the wrong way so the charm wouldn't activate.
戻る時も同じ。
Same when you return. She tossed a stone she'd been holding in her right hand into her left, where it clacked together with the other.
不思議でしょ？この子が教えてくれたのよ。この方法。
Aiko gazed longingly at the stones. She was clearly utterly enamored by them. It seemed as if they were the key factors in unleashing her newfound emotional expressiveness. But my focus was elsewhere. Without a doubt, the items Aiko now held in her left hand were extraordinarily dangerous. Possibly the most dangerous, horrific objects in the entire world. However, while Aiko was ogling them with her left hand, her right was feeling around for something in her breast pocket. She slowly removed it, producing an old black and white photograph. When had she taken that? It was the same photograph I'd seen at Makina Shinozaki's house the previous night. It depicted a young Yoshie alongside her mother and Makina. Okay, that's Yoshie. Yeah.
10代だった篠崎義恵はおばのマキナのことを慕ってよく家に遊びに行っていたそうよ。世界的に有名な霊能師の家系である篠崎家、ここならとヤゴーラ教会の生き残りヤゴーラの沖縄が危険だからとマルトゥバから盗み出してきた ブック・オブ・シャドウズを預けに来たんだけれど、それが揃うと危ないからと石はマキナが、本はヨシエが預かって保管することに決めたそうよ。
Yogoda Society, Martubas. I'd never heard these terms before at all. And then there was that damn Book of Shadows again. Why did that have to keep coming up?
あなたたちはあの学校から篠崎幸子を取り除いた。それによって大きな可能性が広がったわ。これまでのような一方通行ではなく、現世に戻ってくることができる。この世のものではない異空間心霊スポット。
She thrusts the Ever After Stones toward me triumphantly and continued to make her pitch. Growing more excited by the second, I was legitimately speechless. What could I say?
わかるかしら。まさにあの場所は宝の山よ。これまで眉唾、嘘800と笑われていた霊魂の世界への扉が開いたの。世界中のオカルト研究が一気に加速するわ。
No!
私はね、商売としてあの空間へ人を連れて行くツアーコンダクターをやろうと思うの。
Don't do that. Kishinuma and I both reacted to this preposterous suggestion with a start. She couldn't possibly be serious, could she?
ナホちゃんのブログからは片白のデータは削除したし、あの手段ではもう飛べない。行く方法は私しか持っていない。
What could she possibly have been thinking? I wanted to stop her at once. I wanted to take those stones and break them right there on the spot before anyone else got hurt. But
私はね、ツアーを運営するにあたって安全を確保したいの。あゆみちゃんはお友達の霊を探したいでしょ。だったらあの空間の再調査は共通の目的にならないかしら。
Aiko leaned in as she spoke, her breath scented with the sugary sweetness of the extravagant desserts we'd been eating. Tickled my nose.
ね、あゆみちゃん。私と一緒にもう一度天神小学校に行ってくれない？本来は片白を引きちぎる方法でツアーをやろうと思っていたんだけど、こんな便利なアイテムが見つかっちゃったんだもの。これはもう運命よ。
Aiko seemed like she was on top of the world, but that just made me all the more disgusted with
どう
her.
かしら。
On the other hand, she was offering me a chance to save our lost friends, and however remote that chance may have been, it stacked the odds frustratingly in her favor. I still couldn't just say yes, but I also couldn't say no. Honestly, I resented Aiko for putting me in this position. I glared at her for a moment before I said anything.
すぐに答えを出せるわけがないでしょ。考えさせてください。
I'd almost forgotten Kishinuma was there. Sudden waves of guilt washed over me. He had an absolutely incredulous look on his face. I couldn't bear to see it, so I looked away.
ブックオブシャドウズだってどこにあるかわからないし、そもそもその石だって本当にそんな力があるかも実際に試したわけじゃないのでしょ。
Aiko smiled. She oriented the two stones so they'd form a perfect yin-yang symbol, then slotted them together once more. Immediately, the stones began glowing with a bluish-white hue, and a stream of energy started to form around her.
マジかよ。
Aiko continued smiling and looked directly into my eyes.
いいわ、ゆっくり考えて。この石はもちろんまだ試していないから、どれだけ危険かわからないしね。
She slowly separated the two stones as she said this, and the energy surrounding her dissipated.
篠崎家の血筋、篠崎マキナの家で発見されたんだもの。きっと信憑性も霊言も新たかな霊具に違いないわ。
すげえな。ちょっと
Kishinuma didn't wait for an answer. He grabbed the Ever After Stones from Aiko's hands and began examining them carefully.
あの箱の中にこんなものが入ってたとはな。あんたさ、 まさかこの石を独り占めし
Aiko seemed taken aback by the question. Way to go, Kishinuma. You managed to catch her off guard.
これを見つけられたのは半分は篠崎が体張ったおか
Aiko seemed to ponder these words for a moment.
じゃあお互い勝手に行けないように一つずつ持っていましょうか。
わかりました。ちょうだい。
ああ
Kishinuma plopped one of the stones in my hand and slipped the other back into the drawstring pouch Aiko had brought them in and closed it up.
うん
You sneaky little cocksucker. You kept it. He then casually handed the pouch back to its rightful owner.
その気になったら連絡をちょうだい。そうね。サービスとしてブックオブシャドウズの創作は私
Aiko flashed us the biggest, most I can speak. Gregarious smile I think I'd ever
あ
seen.
の本さえ見つかれば
And when we do
一緒
find
に行
it,
ってくれるのよね、あゆみちゃん。
I closed my eyes and gave something like a half-hearted, half nod. Lowering my head without raising it again, it was interpreted as a yes, but I'm not sure I meant it that way.
じゃあここは私が出しておくわね。
Aiko got up and grabbed the check.
いえ、私もだ。
I took out my wallet. I had no desire to owe this person anything. Good girl. Aiko just
そ
smiled.
れじゃ割り勘ってことで。そうそう、これは私からの。
Aiko handed her thoughtograph to me.
嫌だわ、そんなに構えないで。これは無料で差し上げる。
最低だよ、あの人。
あ
鈴本さんや篠原さん、森重くん、ゆい先生、みんなのことが終わったら、この石はすぐ。
You don't need to save Morishige. Morishige was a fucking nut job. He was a psychopath.
あああその意見には俺も同感だ
As if he'd been waiting for this cue, Kishimu pulled the other stone from his pocket.
岸沼くん、
あの学校のヤバさも知らねえで浮かれてやがったからなこっそりいただいてきたぜ
岸沼くん、すごい悪い人。
緊急事態によりやむなしだけどよし野崎こう言っちゃなんだが鈴本たちのことはもう考えない方がいいんじゃねえか無茶ばっかしてお前がまた死ぬ思いするとかよ鈴本も結衣先生も
I don't know. Morishige tried to kill Yuka.
みんなよ
でも、そう
いい加減にしろ篠崎
ごめんなさい。でも、お願い岸沼くん、もう少しだけ、もう少しだけでいいから、私。
It's like, Aww, that's adorable.
大丈夫だ
Turned my gaze up to meet Kishinuma's. My eyes must have looked like saucers, windows into a mind full of worries, ideas, and fears spurred by this unexpected turn of events.
なんかあったらすぐ連絡しろよ前みたいに目つぶって突っ走って勝手に死にそうになってんじゃねえぞ俺だってお前一人くらい守れる自信はあんだからよ
Kishinuma patted me on the head reassuringly as he did this, and I had no idea how to react. Kiss! I felt warm and safe, but also a little annoyed, much like a younger sister being simultaneously comforted and scolded by her big brother. All I could say in response was, "Aw." I could feel my eyes still bulging from my head, opened as far as my eyelids would allow. I imagined how I must have appeared to Kishinuma, and was momentarily embarrassed.
んじゃそろそろ帰るとさ。
Who am I playing as? Okay. All right. Who the hell are you? Who are you? Let me talk to you. He's late. Seriously, what is he thinking? That boy needs a boot to the head, I swear. Sure. I doubt this is my house. Is the owner of this house happy? Obviously, they're experiencing the daily joys of hardships of life like everyone else, but do they really understand what it all means? Oh, I guess I can't go that way. Well, I guess I can't go that way. Ready to head home? Yeah. Come on then, let's go.
ただいま。
ただいま。
おかえり。
今日の変死速報です。死亡した岡部さんは背骨が折れた状態で都内のこの場所で発見され、
A Tokyo map was displayed on the television screen, marked with 2 red dots. The marquee at the bottom provided the headline: "Sudden violent death remains unexplained."
ご飯はまだ少し時間かかるから先にお風呂に入りなさい。
Without thinking, I'd left the socks I just removed from my feet on the living room floor and began walking toward the bathroom.
これ靴下。
Sorry. This was a bad habit of mine, so I ingrained within me that it had almost become a ritual. Mom did well to have caught it so quickly. I grabbed my socks and left the room.
みんなの魂がいる天神症でブックオブシャドウズを使えば今度こそ生き返らせることができるかもしれない。
I set my bag down in my room quickly and automatically grabbed my sweatpants and spats and made a beeline for the bathroom. When I got there, I threw my socks into the hamper with purpose and began peeling off my school uniform as I observed myself in the mirror. I began to murmur.
障害反動。もしあれがまた起こったら。
Those burn marks on my neck. Holy shit. I see them now. Okay, those burn marks on my neck and arms were eternal reminders of what I'd been through at the Shinozaki estate. I could clearly remember the agony I went through as they'd formed. I remember watching them sear into my flesh out of thin air, blood spurting from them as if I'd been knifed. I only survived because Inoue sacrificed herself in my place.
やるしかないじゃない。
I tried to force self-confidence into my expression when it wouldn't come. I slapped my cheeks hard. It was in me somewhere. It just needed to be yanked out into the open. I can read.
あなたが頑張るのよ。
Okay. Dot dot dot. I lowered my head into the water, ever so slightly, blowing bubbles in the water with my mouth. The pros and cons of returning to Heavenly Host were racing through my head.
奇跡の力。確定した運命に挑む力。篠崎の末裔。私がやらなきゃいけない。みんなを生き返らせてみせるわ。ブックオブシャドウズのありかさえ分かればすぐにでも。
ブックオブシャドウズのありかだ。
You're seriously gonna look for the Book of Shadows? Your lack of sense never ceases to amaze me. This was just about the last thing I expected. I couldn't help but scream. It was that same boy who'd found his way into my room last time wearing the exact same clothes. He spoke to me without once turning his head to look in my direction.
涅槃を知ったか。やっと悟ったようだな。てめえの宿命ってやつを。
He smiled, still facing away from me. It was a confident yet sinister grin.
あなた、なんでここに？
音響のまじないなんて基本中の基本だろうが。いちいち驚くんじゃねえよ。それよりもだ。忘れんなよそれ。運命に課せられたてめえの責務だからな。その末裔ってとこ。
あなた。
あ？
警察呼ぶから。この変態ストーカー痴漢。
My face had to have been as red as fire by this point.
うるせえよこの父なし女が。誰が痴漢だ。幼児みたいな体しやがって。てめえみたいな貧相な体見ても何も面白くねえんだよ。
God damn! My head felt like it now housed all the blood from my entire body. I imagined myself white as a sheet below the neck, and flashing red above it on the verge of a megaton explosion.
いいか、よく聞け。ブックオブシャドウズは涅槃の中に戻ってる。ほら。
He handed me the photograph from Aiko.
いつの間に。
よく見ろ、節穴女。ここだ、ここ。
Just look at it, you blind bitch. Here, right the fuck here. I grabbed the photograph from his hands as aggressively as I could muster, then backed away slightly, putting as much distance between me and him as humanly possible. Right there! It was definitely the same picture of the little girl holding the hatchet that Aiko had shown us earlier, but now I noticed that she was holding something in her other hand too. It was a hardbound book around the size of a typical desk dictionary, and though I could barely make it out, there was a certain aura to it that looked an awful lot like a face.
これは。
力を使いたいなら、もう一度涅槃。部屋。天神小学校といったお前の願いも。
He stuck out his hand and pointed directly at my face, then slowly lowered it toward my abdomen. He was now inexplicably pointing at my lower body, but as soon as I started to get self-conscious, he flipped his hand over and opened it, exposing his palm. There was another piece of 10-yen gum cupped there, the same kind as before. I'm not sure why I took it, but I did without even thinking. As soon as the exchange was made, he immediately turned toward the bathroom window, apparently preparing to make his escape.
あなた。何者？
My question seemed to stop him in his tracks. I wasn't about to drop my guard, especially given the obvious advantage this boy had over me. But he didn't seem like he'd come to attack me or anything. Rather, it was almost like he was trying to lead me somewhere, to show me the way.
今はまだ話せない。
He turned his head toward me just enough that I could catch a brief glimpse of his eyes beyond his hood. They were ice blue in color, but gentle and sincere. They don't look gentle to me. He smiled once more as he leapt out the bathroom window. I was kind of dumbfounded. I had no idea how to process what had just happened.
どうしたの、あゆみ？大丈夫？
I saw a bug! Mom barged into the bath, brandishing a broom. It was probably the first thing she could find with which to fend off potential intruders. Too bad she hadn't been just a moment quicker. All I could do was squat on the cold bathroom floor and stare at her with hollow eyes. There was no way to adequately explain any of this to her. It was late at night and I still hadn't bothered changing out of my school uniform. I needed food though, so I decided to hit up the convenience store on my way back home. I'd picked up a bottle of olives, a pack of tofu, some mineral water, and other various things to keep me going for a while.
なんだこりゃ。
I could hardly believe it. There was actually an occult section at the damned mini-mart, with all kinds of stupid stuff like spirit talisman magnets and anti-demon wards. I grabbed one off the shelf at random and looked at the company logo on the backside. PO Promotions Company, Inc. For these last 2 months, since we'd gotten back from Heavenly Host, it seemed like there was a real spiritual boom going on all over the world. Whenever there'd be a strange death or something, the public would be all over it. Downright excited about the possibility that it might be supernatural in nature. It was all over TV shows and magazines too, with independent researchers checking out spiritual hotspots and giving fancy new age advice to people just to boost ratings or sales.
Konbiniでお札が買える時代かよ。ちょっと前までならこんなもの見ても気持ち悪いって笑えたんだろうけど、今じゃそんな風に笑えなくなっちまったな。こんなの本物相手に聞くのかよ。
The item I was examining happened to be one of the spirit talisman magnets, seemingly the last one in stock. An old lady suddenly reached around me from behind and yanked it right out of my hands. She glowered at me for a moment before taking her prize over to the register, and I just stood there, staring blankly at her as she walked away. Nanda-yo. Alright. So there's flowers right here. It's a withered bouquet of flowers. Oh yeah, I heard there was a serial killer who'd recently done in a middle school girl around here. These are probably left in memory of her or something. It's pretty messed up. Are you the serial killer, Kishinuma? It's late. I just want to go home, I think. Alright, fine, I'll go home. Wrong way.
Kishinuma-kun.
篠崎、何してんだこんな時間に。
ごめんね、こんな遅くに。アルバイト？
ああ、今日は遅番だったからな。で、まさかずっと待っ。
平気。
It was actually a really chilly night. I could see Shinozaki's breath dissipating around her chin in short, frequent bursts.
平気じゃねえだろ。震えてんじゃねえか。
Kiss! My room was on the second floor of the apartment building. I hadn't been expecting guests, but I had just tidied up for my own sake a little while back, so it was fairly presentable. Shinozaki immediately sat down on my bed and began sipping the tea that I'd made for her. She was holding it in both hands, probably less for politeness and more just to warm them up.
だろ、妹がいつも送ってくんだよ。いい茶話。
こんな時間まで工事してるんだ。
ああ、年末近くになるとこういう意味のない工事増えるな。うるさいわ、眩しいわで寝れやしねえよ。
大変。
Time passes by at a snail's pace. Shinozaki continued to sip her tea, never once removing either hand from the warm cup. She definitely had something on her mind. Something had happened. It was written all over her face.
親に断ってきてんのか？そうか。
Shinozaki was in my room. I dreamed about this before, but never thought it would actually happen. So what do you want?
こんな遅くに。なんかあったのか？
You could say that. Huh?
今から展示場に行くだ？
I was half acting I was half acting as admittedly this was entirely unexpected. Shinozaki may be a lot of things, but unpredictable is not among them.
お願い
Onegai.
でこの石を
I took out the Ever After Stone I'd stolen from Aiko.
いいか篠崎、確かにこの石はさっき光ってたし何か力はあるかもしれねえ。だがよ、また出られなくなって下手したら今度こそ死んじまう。そうなりゃここでのお前の存在まで消え
I tried to be as strong and commanding as I could possibly muster. I needed her to realize what a bad idea this was.
私の存在なんていい。それより
救う。
黒の本ブックオブシャドウズのあり
さっき言ってた。
見て
She had that thoughtograph standing from Aiko with her and was pointing to the little girl's left arm.
私たち実はもうさっき見えていたのよ。この女の子の左手のところ
I didn't have to look very hard to see it, but
本か、確かに持ってるな。
ないけどでも
多分ってお前
天神賞へはねこの本を取り戻しに行くの。そしたらみんなの魂をね
Yoshiki, don't do something stupid. How could I argue with that? There were so many assumptions being made, but she was so sure of herself, so certain that this would work. She wasn't about to listen to reason. Shinozaki shook her head furiously, like some sort of violent shudder. It almost seemed like she was trying to shake something loose from her mind.
つか、そもそもこんな石で本当に展示所に行けるのか。
それは試してみなきゃだけれどでももしまた天神賞に行けたらみんなの魂がそこにある。
篠崎。
She still had deep scars all along her arms, legs, and neck. Anyone can tell at a glance that she'd just recovered from a serious accident. She sounded so self-assured, so self-confident, but it was hard to take any of that seriously. This was the first time in my life I found myself tearing up over someone and not being embarrassed that I was crying. Honestly, it surprised me even how deeply I cared about Shinozaki and how much I just didn't want to lose her. My eyes were getting hot and glazed, and I felt utterly hopeless.
こんなこと誰にも話せないけどあなたは信じてくれる。
Oh, she dropped the trust me what? She dropped the trust me line. I was at a complete loss for words. I found myself literally scratching my head, trying to come up with a good answer. This was Shinozaki, and she had come to me for moral support, for encouragement, for peace of mind. It was really the first time she'd ever truly relied on me. Ever truly counted on me. I knew then what I had to do.
もうよ、あのクソ学校であんな目にあって帰ってきたんだ。今さら何があっても驚きゃしねえよ。
I got a feeling you're gonna throw that shit out the fucking window.
きっとそうなんだろう。
I've got a feeling you're gonna throw it out the fucking window.
理解はできないけどな。できないままに俺は決めたこと。
決めたこと？
ああ。何があっ
Shinozaki and I stared into each other's eyes for a moment, each of us trying to figure the other out.
心配すんな。大丈夫だ。
I tried to force a smile. Shinozaki had basically curled up into a ball at this point. Her tiny body collapsed in on itself for support, but now, all of a sudden, she unfurled herself and glared. I couldn't tell if she was mad or happy or what. Her eyes were either like daggers or saucers. I couldn't really make out which. Maybe she'd come here expecting me to actively shoot down her ideas or something. Maybe she thought she'd be alone in this. Maybe she'd figured out what I was up to. Or maybe she'd been expecting me to say exactly what I'd said to her, and maybe it annoyed her? Either way, tears began to explode from her eyes so quickly that red bags were forming under them almost instantly. She then turned her back to me, all with one seemingly unconscious spin of her body.
どうした篠崎。
あのね 昼間
She seemed like she was trying her hardest not to let herself cry, though it wasn't exactly working.
んなことしたか？
したあれだけど
Apparently not. She paused, seemingly waiting for me to answer, but I had no idea what to say and absolutely didn't want to say the wrong thing, so I just stood there like adult.
やっぱり覚えてないなら
Finally, she turned back to face me, her tears mostly dry, still a little self-conscious about crying though. She kept her eyes closed, a telltale frown belying her confidence. I think I said belying her confidence, but whatever. I can read. There's obviously something between the lines for me to read here, but hell if I knew what it was.
あ
Shinozaki removed the Ever After stone from her pocket and placed it squarely in my hand. Don't throw it out the window. Please do not throw it out the window. Don't throw it out the fucking window. I positioned it next to my stone and stared intently at the two. This was the turning point. What I did next could decide our fates. I couldn't mess this up. Outside my window, I could still hear the sound of construction vehicles driving by. It was now or never. Motherfucker! In as close to one solid motion as I could manage, I opened my window and chucked the two stones out into the road. I timed it perfectly and my aim couldn't have been better. Another truck was just about to pass by, and the stones were immediately in its path. The sound I heard next was a satisfying crunch. It was the sound of delicate glass-like rocks breaking into tiny pieces. Shinozaki had rushed over to the window and directly witnessed the fate of the Ever After stones. As soon as the truck drove over them, she collapsed to her knees.
お前を守るんだ。何をしてでも。
I couldn't even finish my sentence before Shinozaki's palm slapped my face with incredible force. A loud smack of flesh on flesh echoed throughout the room. The side of my face was immediately in pain. I began rubbing it with my hand as I looked into Shinozaki's eyes. Her face was filled with tears and her nose was running. She was breathing so heavily her shoulders were bobbing up and down.
やっぱりあなたはどうし
篠崎、聞いて。
ちょっとでも信じて私がバカだった
She was absolutely hysterical with rage.
行かせるかよ。あんなところに。
It was my turn to fire back now. I was certain I'd done the right thing.
本があるったって具体的にどこだ。一体何をするんだよ。何のプランもなしに行って、また死ぬ思いするだけだろ。
Leaving me with those hurtful words, Shinozaki then pushed past me and ran out of my room, crying like a child the whole way. I stood back up, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slapped.
お前。
お願いどこ
Alright. I think this is going to be a good spot for me to leave it here, because my god, that is a lot of reading. So... Shit, can I save? Shit, I can't save. Fuck. I can't save. Fuck! I guess I can't leave yet. Shit, I have to get a save spot first. Never mind, I'm still here. Found them! And they're broken.
無事だったんだ
They're okay. Oh.
当然だろう。ただの石じゃねえんだ。
Why would that matter? Those aren't just any old stones.
あ
よく手段を手に入れたな。論から手段、次に実践だ。進め。貪欲に貪るように邁進しろ。お前はもう飛べる。パンピーどもを超越する世の断りに手を突っ込むことのできる人間だ。
教えてよ。
篠崎。
篠間くん。
比べて。
はあ、なんだよお前。
It's that guy I passed in front of Shinozaki's place.
壊れなかったの。篠崎、渡すんだ。
いや、
ダメだ、行くんじゃねえ。何度死にそうになれば気が済むんだよ。渡せ。
Come on, do something. Damn. Bad dog.
歩み、味方かと聞いた。その通り。
I am.
俺はお前の姉、日の絵の世話になった一番地、矢後浦教会のキリアミストだ。
Yagoda Society. You were?
姉ちゃんの。
いい子だ。
Good girl.
会場のワー
You
ドは
remember the
覚え
chant
て
to
る。
unlock the powers, don't you?
さて、それじゃあ実践といこうか。俺にしっかり捕まってろよ。あとほら、おま
Obtain Misuto's charm, the Argus Cube.
行くな。
ごめん。もう心配しない。
篠崎。
お前は正しくパンピーの道を生きてろ。
やめて。涅槃よ。死人を迎えよ。
篠崎。
Alright, I can go find me a safe spot now. Maybe.
マジかよ。
This can't be happening.
篠崎。篠崎。くそ。なんでだよ。
ここは
Where am I? This stench.
この空気。天神書だ。あれ
He left your ass.
幸せの石。どうしよう。あれはミスそんな。あの石がないと。ミストさん。そんなことないよ。きっとどこかで合流できるわ。
Whoa! Hold up. Whoa, 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 whoa. I recognize that girl. That's the one that I actually talked to. Oh my god, was she the victim? No one is coming to save you. Die. Kill. You should just die, 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 die. Curse. Hate. Like a pomegranate.
お前ザク
Head so full of juice.
いらっしゃいませ。
Welcome. Maybe you should listen to Kishinuma. Maybe. Alright, let's go find me a save spot, cause my god. Is there a save spot anywhere? It wasn't this dark last time. Ah! There wasn't a clock like that in here last time either. I guess things really are different now. I hope Misato hasn't gone too far. I don't even know his phone number. Actually, I should leave a message for him. Misato, it's Ayumi. Please call me. 090 XXX blah blah blah. Good enough, I think. Now let's see if I can find him anywhere. Save spot! Finally I can, you know, fucking do my shit here. Okay, now I am going to hop off of here and I will be back whenever I come back. So I will see you guys later. Bye.